The chairman of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Kwamna Frimpong, has dropped hints the ban on small-scale mining will be lifted before December this year. Ahead of that, though, he's announced a number of events that will precede the lifting of the ban. The roadmap, among other things, will require small-scale mining firms to have their licenses vetted and verified and their earth-moving equipment used in mining registered and tracked. All military and paramilitary personnel guarding large-scale mining concessions will also be withdrawn from mining firms which violate state regulations, with Operation Vanguard Task Force being the only security agency mandated to offer protection services. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Since its inception, the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining has put in measures geared towards sanitizing the mining sector. Some of these include formation of 60 ad hoc district committees on illegal mining across the country to fight galamsey at the district level, and the training of 3,000 artisanal small-scale miners. Announcing the roadmap for lifting the ban, the chairman of the committee, Professor Frimpong, suggested the lifting of the ban on small-scale mining may come sooner than later.
Now, somebody will ask me, when exactly are we going to lift the ban? I cannot say it now, but I know that His Excellency the President will want small-scale miners to spend the Christmas very well. That one I can say. But it will all depend upon how we go on with this roadmap. It can be much earlier than we anticipate, or it can go for maybe a week or two. But one thing I can say is that the President wants you to earn some money and enjoy your Christmas. One, we are going to direct that all excavators be brought to designated areas in all the regions, and the regional ministers will make sure that this is done. The reason we want to do that is that we want to give every excavator an electronic tracking device. Every excavator will be moved to a particular area and to receive an electronic tracking device. This announcement will be made on the 20th of this month, next week. So we are going to withdraw all military and paramilitary forces from the ground, and Operation Vanguard will be the only force that will be in the mining concessions. Because you don't want a situation where some private person will go and hire somebody to provide security for a company and come into conflict with Operation Vanguard. So we want a situation where Operation Vanguard will maintain sanity in all the mining concessions.
He also talked about a new app to be used to link the activities of regulatory agencies and also monitor the activities of small-scale miners.
I mentioned Galamstop. This is a software that we have developed, very solid, and I hope that one of us will come and demonstrate how it works. So we are going to link all the agencies, Forestry Commission, Water Resources Commission, EPA, DVLA. In this picture, you will see a gentleman who owns a concession. 3 of them, their names are there. You have their TIN, that is tax identification numbers, their addresses, their biodata, and so on. And this will be incorporated into a card, an ID card. So with this information, we'll know exactly where the concession is, their GPS coordinates, the Ghana Post address, and whether they have licenses, whether the license has expired, and so on.
Though happy the ban on the operations will soon be lifted, Director of Operations at the Ghana Association of Small-Scale Miners, Emmanuel Entry, says December is still several months away and asked for a more definite date.
By December is too far. I mean, when you look at what the Honorable Minister illustrated through his presentation, one will argue that the targets they set for themselves, they've achieved over 70% of those targets. So then we don't see the reason why the ban should be extended up to December. I would wish that it should be lifted as soon as possible, and that as soon as possible shouldn't be more than a month from now.
Well, taking a break here and joining us to bring you business news. And in business, Bank of Ghana issues strong warning it will sanction staff who flout its regulations in the discharge of their duties. Emmanuel Awadriafi will bring you the business news in a bit.
The Bank of Ghana has issued a strong warning to its staff, especially members of the Department of Supervision, that it will sanction those who flout the rules of the central bank. This is part of measures put in place by the bank as it reflects on its past performances as a regulator of the financial sector. In a keynote address at the launch of Code of Ethics and Professional Standards for the Association of Finance Houses, Head of Supervision of the BOGs, Osei, stressed the central bank is keen on cleaning the mess in the sector.
The Bank of Ghana has come under serious criticism following recent happenings in the banking sector. Some Ghanaians have blamed them for the crisis, describing the state of the banking industry as destabilized. Speaking to unveil the Code of Ethics and Professional Standards for the Association of Finance Houses, Osei disclosed that management of the central bank is committed to ensure sanity prevails in the sector.
Someone will ask, someone will say that they are just talking about things that affect the industry. What about the regulators themselves? What are you doing? This is one question that has come up over and over. And our response has been that we have also undertaken, and we are still undertaking, self-introspection to ensure that as we ask the institutions that we supervise to do the right thing, everybody in the bank, including myself, especially those of us in the supervision department, we also live up to expectation. No one is above the law. And if you are found going forward, if you are found to have contravened the rules of the game, I can assure you that the management of the bank, they are awake and the appropriate actions will be taken. We have really enhanced our supervisory framework.
The idea to have a code of ethics for the financial houses was conceived by the association to serve as a guide to whip out underperforming members. President of the association, Okoniko Ijani, admitted the happenings in the banking sector is having an effect on the overall performance of the industry.
We are all in the industry, so somehow customer confidence is across board. So the certainty, the assurances are still required to the business community and the customer public to ensure that we are going concerns, as it were.
What have been your collaboration with the Bank of Ghana, towards this code of ethics? Oh,
Bank of Ghana has issued so many guidelines, and we are working in tandem. We are working together. At the end of the day, they have expectations of us, and we must also be aware of what we have to do to satisfy the expectations and also to improve and sanitize the system. So it's been very fantastic.
Members of the association are expected to know and abide by the Code of Ethics as their guiding principle in their daily operations.
Meanwhile, the second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Elsie Awaji, has urged all other financial institutions to learn lessons from the recent collapse of some local banks and comply with the banking regulations. Speaking at the Festival of Ideas Conference, Madam Elsie Awaji noted that non-compliance exposes companies to high risks, including arbitrations and jail sentences.
Compliance to any of these requirements I have just outlined is essential to and inseparable from business success. It is an integral part of good corporate governance and enterprise risk management. These are essential building blocks to a strong, viable, and sustainable business of any size. The consequences of poor corporate compliance include a myriad of risks, including legal risks, operational risks, financial risks, reputational risks, among others. Non-compliance with statutory, regulatory, contractual obligations could lead to formal sanctions and other enforcement actions and could end up in costly litigation or arbitration. Non-compliance with corporate policies also lead to operational inefficiencies and losses. And failure to adhere to ethical standards would also lead to reputational risks, which sometimes could also involve customers boycotting your products or services. We have seen that happen in other countries where, for example, in the skincare industry, customers are particular about not using products that have been tested on animals, for example. There was a period in the UK where you couldn't wear a fur coat on the streets without fear of being lynched by animal rights activists. So that took a toll on businesses involved in these sectors. You may have heard about the garments industry, which has been punished by customers for clothes they manufactured in countries elsewhere where the cost of labor was too low or where people were made to work under inhuman conditions. We've heard about our own industry, our cocoa industry here that came under attack for child labor practices. So these are very important issues that need to be borne in mind.
The inability of farmers to access skilled and affordable labor is a problem that affects food cultivation and yields. In the last edition of the KIC Profile, Team Agtemp explains how it intends to resolve this challenge by providing trained farm hands to farmers and agribusinesses.
During various market research tours, members of Agtemp found that smallholder farmers had difficulty in accessing skilled labor. Team Agtemp is therefore determined to turn this problem into a business opportunity.
The Agtemp business concept is basically to provide labor services to farmers, agribusinesses, and farmer-based organizations. Not just the rhetorical labor services, but a different brand of labor services who have the competent skills to provide services that will help farmers improve their yield, maintain the right standards, and be able to manage their farms properly.
As required by the Cosmos Innovation Center Agrotech Challenge, the business must be technology-based.
You just need to go onto our Rotate platform. That's our product, where you would get to know the kind of laborers who are available so that you can contract their service. So once you get onto the platform, you have a list of laborers with their skills listed there. So if you are a tomato farmer, you just go, you input tomato, the size of farm you have, and other characteristics of your farm. So with these inputs, we will be able to link you with these skilled laborers who are in our system.
The group's recent engagement was at Techiman in the Bunahafo region, where they interacted with farmers and companies engaged in agri-related services.
We needed to first get clients and customers in the region and also to establish partnership with Ghana Permaculture Institute because they are into the business of training people with skills set for labor services. So we thought it wise to partner with them to give us a steady stream of laborers or steady stream of personnel to help our products work.
The team first attempted to explore a cattle business, but quickly had to abandon the idea because members realized it wasn't feasible.
For the peasant farmers, when you guys got there, were they...
Kabuki, who is the last to join the group of 4, is credited with identifying the viability of the concept on farm labor services amongst a host of other ideas listed during brainstorming.
For any farming activity to ever start, someone needs to clear the land. For the farmer to be able to pluck his mango and feed you and I, he needs someone to help him pluck them, get it and sell it to the market. So we realize that labor is a big thing. Even though people cannot see it as valuable as it is very, very needed. No matter which kind of crop of where the farmer is located, he needs laborers to work with. So that was when we saw labor as a huge opportunity for us to work with, and today here we are making labor very feasible, affordable and reliable to farmers.
The journey with KIC has been satisfying. The young entrepreneurs feel they are now better equipped to venture into the business world.
You can have a good idea but it might not always be a business idea. And so whilst vying to be an entrepreneur, to solve problems and to make a living or a business out of it, the most important thing is the business aspect. As for the IT and the other stuff, they will be enablers in future to help you do your business easily.
You might sit at home and feel, okay, I need this pen, but do you care to know if Justice really needs this pen and at what cost will he pay? So this Cosmos trip and market research and all that has really helped us to fine-tune our product in such a way that the customer really needs it, not because we think it's very nice to have.
Sometimes you are so much fixated on the grand prize that you forget about your own solution or your own business. So with that being preached, I reverted back to the fact that I have to learn all that they've taught us, how to apply it on our business, and truly it worked that way. And in the end, we are in the finance. Although, let me say, I least expected that.
Matthew, a member of the group, was not present during the interview, but he got great reviews from his colleagues for his ability to calm nerves.
Matthew doesn't talk too much. He listens very, very attentively. And so he's able to pick out from whatever you say, what you want to say in the best way possible. And so whilst you are trying to push an idea across for the team to, either buy into it or understand, and the team is not really getting the information, Matthew is able to represent it, that, this is what he is trying to say, or this is what she is trying to say.
Team members say they have been tolerant and respectful of one another thanks to team building training they had benefited from.
That's all in Joy News Business, Joy News Prime Business. My name is Emmanuel Apwachi. Good evening.
Now, some members of Parliament have joined calls for the Finance Committee to make its probe into the collapse of banks a public inquiry. The committee announced Wednesday it is beginning an official probe into the collapse. The committee said it will hold in-camera sittings on the 5th, 6th and 7th September, during which it will interrogate various officials. The move is to allow persons with sensitive information to share freely when they appear before the committee. Leadership of the committee will, however, hold daily media briefings after each sitting. But the MPs have criticized the decision, demanding a public hearing.
Should it be a closed hearing or a closed sitting? I mean, this is a public matter and it should be dealt with in the public domain. We're talking about ordinary Ghanaians' monies that were lodged with a financial institution, and these monies were not handled properly. I mean, why should it be in camera? I don't subscribe to the idea that it should be done in camera at all, because I am also an affected a person. So why should we say that it should be done in camera? What is so sensitive about this? Is it about national security? I don't think it's about national security. So it's a matter that should be dealt with, in public, so that everybody could listen to them loud and clear, just like how we dealt with, the reconciliation issues during President Kufuor's era. Ghanaians should know.
Doing that itself and allowing members of the public to see the processes and the procedure and to hear those responsible firsthand in itself reinforces their confidence in the functionality of our public institutions and systems, and to let them know that in spite of all of these mistakes, there will be sanctions and punishments. Nobody's above the law, and their people are also acting in their best interest. And for me, I think that this justifies the need to have a public hearing where all the issues will be laid to bear. Because if we could have, the famous and historic court case around the 2012 election petition being telecast live, I don't see any reason why this should be that difficult. I would have argued that
it's a management issue too. Things might have gone wrong, all right, but it's not everything about a company or an institution that you want to expose to the general public, because we also have other banks that are operating, and we want to guard against people losing confidence in the way they operate. we should bear in mind that the main objective is to improve upon the way banks are managed. The interest is not to name and shame somebody. So if by doing it in camera, we'll be able to solicit the information that is needed and be able to take the rightful decisions. Maybe what comes out as conclusions should be the one that should go into the general public domain.
Well, a member of the Finance Committee, Daniel Ochemobwaje, says the decision is not quite cast in stone. From the committee, he also described as unfortunate comments by Pastor Mensa Otabil that he was not responsible for the day-to-day running of the banks.
I think it's unfortunate. And of course, Pastor Otabil is a highly respected pastor in Ghana and a leader that we've all admired, and we listen to his preachings, and because he speaks motivation. And so even though he will say he was non-executive board chair, it doesn't take him. He cannot excuse himself with that line, because truly speaking, you are ultimately responsible, whether you were directly connected or not, or you were supposed to ensure that there are systems and controls in place to ensure that things work. So to say I'm a non-executive, either maybe he didn't understand what it meant at that time to be a board chair. You are responsible. You provide the strategic direction and make sure everybody is working. So people, in an attempt to get it on top of their salary, they behave properly. Because at the end of the day, all the numbers we look at, every statistic you see, there's a behavior beneath it. So once you're able to correct those kinds of behaviors with incentives and, of course, punishment as well, where you need to appropriate punishment, you get things done. So, honestly speaking, he cannot take himself out of this. He's part of the problem, because especially loans of that magnitude, you cannot say you're the board chair and you did not supervise. There are some loans that are limited to loan officers and credit officers, credit manager, head of risk, credit committee, but there are some loans that go all the way to the board, especially if they are this big. So I believe that even though it's good that he came out, but that the reason he's offering for to be excused. And I'm glad he says he's cooperating with everybody that needs to be cooperated with, but that will not fly.
And in the headlines here on Joy News Prime, staff of Tamale Teaching Hospital suspend action to withdraw their services of the raid on the office of the chief executive. It comes even as the Tamale police arrest Baba Al-Hassan, ringleader of the pro-New Patriotic Party vigilante group, which raided the office of the chief executive. Staff, meanwhile, demanding the arrest of the perpetrators within a week. Meanwhile, in the central region, the commissioning of a polyclinic was briefly disrupted after some sympathizers of the opposition National Democratic Congress stormed the venue. Parliament may just back down on plans to hold in-camera sittings into the banking crisis that has seen 7 banks go down in the past year. And in Business Bank of Ghana has issued a strong warning it will sanction staff who flout its regulations in the discharge of their duties. And government has dropped hint the ban on small-scale mining may be lifted by the end of this year, and details a number of things that first need to happen. The government has resolved to take steps to discontinue the process for the winding up of the Ghana Football Association, GFA. Also, government and FIFA have resolved to work closely to eradicate corruption, malfeasance, and other associated criminal conduct from the administration of football in Ghana. The parties again resolved to, quote, establish a joint task force to create proper disciplinary governance and auditing mechanisms, as well as ensure that persons who are found culpable are punished in accordance with Ghanaian domestic laws and FIFA statutes, unquote. These resolutions were reached on Thursday after a government delegation led by the Sports Minister Isaac Esiama and comprising the Deputy Chief of Staff Samuel Abu-Jinapo, Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame, and the head of the FIFA CAF liaison team, Dr. Kofi Amwa, met with a delegation of FIFA officials led by its president, Gianni Infantino, in Zurich. Information Minister designate Kojo Nkrumah, who is also with the delegation, tells Joy News government is happy there's been an amicable settlement on the way forward as far as reviving Ghana football is concerned.
Steps to discontinue the application to liquidate the Ghana Football Association. And let me give you a background. It's because the government is of the view that the Ghana Football Association as a vehicle was being used for a criminal enterprise, following what we observed in the number 12 documentary and the application that was made to the courts. Now, the Ghana government and FIFA initially agreed to set up a liaison team and suspend activities of the Ghana Football Association. And so on our part, we went to court to get an injunction so to do. On the part of FIFA, they also injuncted the FA president. The second step was to find a permanent solution. Now, that permanent solution, we believed that we should do away with the Football Association. And FIFA explained to us that in clear reading of their laws would mean that if we do that, it will be in contravention of Articles 14 and 19. So what do we do? And that's why a couple of days ago, we announced that we're going to have to engage with FIFA to find a mutually acceptable way forward. And so today we have engaged with FIFA at the highest level. President Infantino, his Secretary General and his lieutenants were all here with us for this meeting. It took a number of hours, usually unprecedented because they won't even meet you. But we had clear instructions from His Excellency the President. We articulated a strong case, and FIFA has agreed that they will then literally do what the government of Ghana sought to do for us so that we don't have to infringe upon their laws. In other words, they will set up the normalization committee that will take over the executive committee functions of FIFA and run Ghana football at all of its levels and also lead the way in the reforms that we are looking for. And they are going to collaborate with us in choosing the persons who are going to be on this normalization committee. That is the government of Ghana and CAF. They will collaborate with us in choosing the right person so that we are sure that we have persons of integrity, persons who are committed to running a football enterprise that is not bedeviled with corruption and criminal conduct. So in the end, it's a win-win. We have succeeded in getting to that point where we get a new vehicle to run Ghana football, and we have also succeeded in avoiding an unwarranted ban. Indeed, as of now, the court has injuncted them, but that's only temporary. A permanent answer is that FIFA itself will appoint a normalization committee. Once that committee is appointed, they will even take over from the liaison team that is working now to assume the full functions and act accordingly, and to roll out the reforms that we have been discussing with FIFA. And in the coming days, those reforms in consultation with all of the other interested parties, club owners, GALCA, etc., all of those reforms will be rolled out in the coming days, providing further and better particulars, bank accounts, bank transactions, details, etc. So that process is going on with the Ghana Police Service. The government remains committed that anybody who has committed a criminal act in that process ought to be dealt with according to the criminal offences and other related acts.
Now, all 28 shops owned by Nigerian traders visited by the National Task Force at Swami Magazine Thursday do not have Ghana Standards Authority certificates. This means all the shops are selling goods without authorization by the Standards Authority. The team for the 2 days realized the Nigerian traders are evading taxes, a reason they may be selling cheaper than their Ghanaian counterparts. Kwame JC is member of the task force and national vice chairman of the Ghana Union Traders Association. He pleaded with the GRA to intensify its monitoring to address the challenge.
I've started weeping for Ghana. And let me say that GRA have been very lackadaisical in their execution of the job that they are mandated to do. In fact, they have relaxed for the reason is best known to them. How can somebody work for about 6 or 7 years? They see that they have some. There are about 5 different entities. They will come under the name of one registered company, but the whole of 5 entities will pay about 150 Ghana, 200 Ghana for the whole year as income tax or PAYE. VAT they don't pay at all, and VAT they don't pay at all, not at all. They have been doing it, and I think I will, because Honorable Alan Shamartin is in charge, we will liaise with him. They will also meet the finance minister to also tell him a lot about this. It is not something that in fact, we have to be happy at all. Ghana is losing a lot of income out of the malpractice of these foreigners. So it's not palatable at all.
Meanwhile, leadership of GUTA says some of the Nigerian traders are not complying with the task force directive. This is because most of them closed their shops upon hearing the task force was embarking on the exercise.
Yesterday, we started around 1:30. We were able to visit as many as 10 shops. In fact, there's only one shop that we met in a Nigerian. Then we talked to him. Others were just hiding behind their shops because they will tell you the person is travel, but you see only one padlock that is being locked. And we've been hearing from the Ghanaians and others that, oh, they were here in the morning, but when they heard that you were coming, they've left. Now there's P's like GPIC, immigration, tenancy agreements, GRA, standard authority, and all the stuff that you can talk about. And there's one person thing that I want to tell Ghana, and for that matter, ECOWAS, that Ghana is not against foreigners. All what we are saying is, if we've been able to maintain peace, law and order in our country, and you want to come and join us, we are not asking much from you. We only tell you that obey the laws of the land, pay taxes, obey your immigration values, register with GIPC, register with Ghana Standard Authorities, pay your GRA, everything, then pay proper duty.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Union of Traders Association is calling for either a review of the implementation of the ECOWAS protocol in Ghana or a full implementation of the entire protocol. The protocol allows first for free movement, then citizenship, and then what it calls establishment. GUTA President Dr. Joseph Bing said it's either all the protocols are enforced so that Ghanaians in other countries like Nigeria will enjoy the benefits, or government takes steps to review its involvement in the ECOWAS protocol and its implementation, because Nigerians are taking over businesses in Ghana. He spoke with my colleague Gifty and Apia on the Pulse.
Our goal is the law. I don't hate my brother here. He's my friend. But our target is the law. Anybody who is talking shouldn't talk like a preacher or give a sermon of morality. That's not what we are talking about. We have the ECOWAS protocol, and it's so clear on its mandate. The caveats that are there are also so clear. The minister was a minister when we came to him. And then we said that we have this problem. Now this is the law. You seem not comfortable to implement the law. If you think that there's no relevance in the law, let's abolish the law. If there's issue, let's look at the main issue. If it is about ECOWAS and the discrepancies in the law.
Exactly, in the law. So
establishment,
Dr. Bing, what does establishment mean
the
to you
ECOWAS
and
law
your members?
says that now the ECOWAS law as it is, we have 3 phases. And then ECOWAS is on the free movement of goods. We haven't reached even the residency. When we reach the residency, it means that we are going to fuse ourselves together. We are going to be together as one unit.
Then
so
at that point, you don't need to provide all of these documents. Is that
exactly
what it means to you?
In that case, that's a residency. Okay. Then establishment means all. But the protocol says that if you are a member,
But his Nigerian counterpart, Evaritus Nwankwo, disagrees with the claim there are more Nigerians in Ghanaian retail markets than Ghanaians in Nigerian retail markets.
When you look at the law and say that, oh, we must implement the letter, this and that, we are not against that. But the protocol says, because the way they are explaining the protocol, it's not true. That the protocol says after 90 days, you
reapply or you go back to your country.
Exactly, that's what the protocol.
So then it means that some Nigerians are abusing the protocol by overstaying.
No, I don't think if you abuse the protocol, the law should deal with you. I think in every country the law should deal with offenders. Okay. But what we are saying is that making it a very stringent condition for them to register and then stay is another way of saying we don't want you to stay. Don't you agree with me?
Agree with the fact that you are about 50. He said you are more than 50%. You don't agree.
He doesn't have empirical evidence to show for that. And you too, that a Ghanaian, you are working in the market. You have never come across any Ghanaian market. That way you come, it is Nigerian majority and Ghanaian minority. I don't think there is.
But there are lots of Nigerians.
I can admit that there are, but some of them, you may see that some of them, like what we are agreeing here, if you come and you don't don't have maybe the necessary papers and whatever.
In a related development, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Carlos Ahinkra, is ensuring traders from ECOWAS countries they will not be removed from Ghana. He's however urging them to abide by the country's laws. Ahinkra tells Joy News the impasse between the foreigners and Guta that has led to attacks on some foreigners has been resolved following meetings with President Akufo-Addo.
We sympathize with our colleagues from Guta because it's very difficult to borrow money to trade and not be able to sell the goods whilst interest is accruing. And meanwhile, we should also understand that we are not living in isolation. We are not an island unto ourselves. We have to coexist, learn to coexist, and especially when we belong to an ECOWAS fraternity, where in the charter there's stated clearly that there should not be any discrimination. It's important that we find a way to mix this together and find some peaceful coexistence. The Minister of Trade himself and of course the President have met our good traders about twice already, trying to resolve this matter, and I'm sure, very, very sure that very soon all this hullabaloo will come to pass.
Do you think you are prioritizing the interest of foreigners over Ghanaians?
That is a misplaced statement, because there's no way anybody would do that. Foreigners don't vote, for example, if you want to go that tangent. So there's no way we would consider foreigners over our Ghanaian brothers. But the fact is, we are members of a regional bloc, and as members we are supposed to live by the tenets of the treaty. If the treaty claims that you cannot discriminate, you cannot discriminate. Once you do that, then there's a whole lot of trouble. My brothers and sisters in Guta should just calm down. We share their pain, we share their position, we know their worries. We, however, cannot, just go in and start driving people off or out because of this pain that they are enduring. That notwithstanding, I'd like to also mention to my foreign investors that they are the ones that rely on for investments to run or develop this country. But that is not to say that the laws of the country should not be observed. But I can tell them without blinking an eye that nobody is after them, nobody is going to sack them. The intention is not to sack anybody. The intention here is to ask that people respect the laws of God.
Well, that's it for the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.